I was walking home from school when I heard a plaintive meow. There was a kitten sitting by the trash cans and looking at me with huge, hungry eyes. "What are you doing here, Fluffball?" I knew Mom wouldn't let me keep a pet. She said that animals were carriers of bacteria and weren't worth the trouble. But I couldn't walk past the stray kitten. I put him in my backpack and brought him to my room. Then I poured milk into a saucer and made a bed for him in my closet. I'll call you Marmalade. The kitten started purring, and I realized that we would become fast friends. Hi, I'm Corin, and this is my story. Please press like and subscribe. The next day, I left the kitten in my room and went to school. Be quiet. If Mom finds you, I'll be in a world of trouble. The first class was history with Mr. Miller. He was very demanding and bored everyone to tears with his lectures about Egyptian mummies. He was pretty old and didn't hear well, so some students talked quite loudly in his class. By some students, I mean my boyfriend Adam. He liked to joke around and make our classmates laugh. "Mr. Miller is so ancient, he must have seen dinosaurs." He did an impression of our teacher, and I couldn't help but giggle. But then, Mr. Miller noticed Adam's antics. Oops.
"Young people, you should respect your elders. Go to the principal's office, now."
Adam mumbled that the teacher would regret picking on him and stuck his tongue out at him before leaving. Everyone laughed. I know that my boyfriend is a bit of a troublemaker and does not do well in school, but spending time with him is never boring. After school, Adam walked me home as usual. He never failed to make me laugh. Mom was usually still at work at that time, so I wasn't worried she might see us. But she came back earlier and saw Adam kissing me goodbye. "See you tomorrow, babe." I walked into the house and Mom immediately pounced on me. Oh no.
"Corin, are you really dating that troublemaker?"
Mom, Adam is a good guy.
"I know what his reputation is like at school. I forbid you from talking to him. Go to your room."
Sometimes she reminded me of a prison guard because she wouldn't let me do anything. I was fuming, but Marmalade nuzzled me and I immediately calmed down. "Were you good?" Before going to bed, I texted Adam and fell asleep hugging the kitten. In the middle of the night, I heard some noise coming from above. It sounded like someone was walking around in the attic. I thought I was still dreaming. In the morning, I fought with Mom again. She scolded me for watching the TV at night and leaving chip crumbs on the couch.
"We don't have a housekeeper. Clean up after yourself."
I hadn't even left my room at night. But arguing with Mom was useless. I had to spend the whole day cleaning up. I hung out with my friends in the evening, and when I came back home, I realized that something was wrong with my room. Had Mom gone through my stuff? At first, I was mad, and then I thought that she might have discovered my secret pet, and my heart sank. But Mom didn't say anything. Phew, that was close. In the evening, Adam texted me goodnight. "By the way, your cat is very cute." That made me smile. Oh, Adam. But then, I tensed up. I hadn't told him about Marmalade. I decided that I would get to the bottom of it in the evening. I had almost fallen asleep when I heard a strange noise coming from the attic again. What was that? Mom was visiting her friends, so I was supposed to be all alone in the house. It was raining. The atmosphere was so creepy. I quietly left my room. Who's there? I was sure it was just the wind, but it was still scary, and I decided to call Adam so that he would cheer me up. At first, there were only beeps, but then I heard a familiar ringtone. What the heck? The sound was coming from the attic. "Hello? Why are you calling me so late, babe?" I heard his voice coming from the attic and on the phone at the same time. What the fudge? I resolutely went upstairs and opened the attic door. Adam was standing there and talking to me on the phone. Can you imagine? "Oh, Corin! Surprise!" It was nuts! My boyfriend secretly came over to my place at night. What a wacko! Have you lost it? I could get in trouble because of you! I didn't give Adam a chance to explain and kicked him out before my mom came back. I would have been done for. I have nowhere else to go, and it's raining outside. I told him he had gone too far and angrily slammed the door in his face. Ugh, I couldn't believe he had done that! Besides myself with indignation, I lay down and tried to fall asleep. But then I heard a sad groan. At first, I thought it was Marmalade, but the kitten was sleeping next to me. I looked out the window and saw Adam. He was soaking wet and looked like a lost puppy. I was too soft-hearted and couldn't help feeling sorry for him. I let him in and decided to hear him out. Adam said that things weren't good at home for him. His parents were constantly fighting and taking their anger out on him. When it got particularly bad, he ran away, climbed the hedge, and spent the night in my attic. So it was you who ate the chips and left the crumbs on the couch? I'm sorry, I was so hungry. Of course, I was still mad, but I knew how hard it could be when your parents didn't get you. I let Adam sleep in the attic, but first, I made him promise that he wouldn't sneak into my house again. I brought him a blanket and some snacks. We spent half the night discussing our problems with our parents and playing board games. When Mom came home, I sneaked back into my room. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. It felt like Adam was an attic knight guarding my sleep. In the morning, he carefully slipped past my mom and we went to school together. In history class, I realized that I hadn't got enough sleep because of the unplanned sleepover. I had trouble focusing and felt like there was gum in my head instead of brains. I could not answer Mr. Miller's questions and got a bad mark. That old fart, why is he picking on us? Whatever, I'll bring my grade up later. I wasn't upset, but Mom acted like it was the end of the world. Your grades have been slipping. Adam is a bad influence on you. We had a yelling competition. I was so mad at Mom. She wasn't perfect either. I was playing with Marmalade in the evening when Adam knocked on my window. Trouble at home again? Not this time. I got us invitations to an underground rock party. Let's go! Sneaking out was unlike me, but I was so fed up with Mom trying to control my every move that I decided to do it. I hid the kitten in the closet and climbed out the window. Let's have some fun! The party was held on the riverbank. When we arrived, we saw a lot of guys much older than us. They were so loud. I started dancing and felt grown up and free too. Wow, you sure know how to have fun. Things were going great until a car pulled up to the party. I recognized it immediately. Oh no, it was my mom! How did she find me? Corin, you're grounded, young lady! She scolded me in front of Adam and everyone else, and then dragged me toward the car. I wanted to sink through the floor. Mom was acting like I was 5. She wouldn't stop scolding me on the way home. When I asked her how she found me, she said that she had installed an app on my phone that tracked my location and sent it to her by email. What the freaking hell? Was she really tracking me? That was going too far, even for her. When we got home, Mom brought me to my room and told me that I was grounded for a month. But then, she looked shocked. Marmalade had got out of the closet and was sleeping on my bed, curled up in a tiny ball. What is this? I told you, no animals in the house! You are taking it to an animal shelter tomorrow! She slammed the door and left, and I could only grit my teeth in anger. I'd had enough of being watched and being forbidden to do everything. When Mom left for work the next day, I called Adam to ask him for advice. After all, he often argued with his parents too. I've got an idea if you want to teach your mom a lesson. He suggested I run away from home and stay at my neighbor's house for a while. I hesitated. Was it a good idea? But Adam convinced me that he had already done it many times. It won't hurt anyone. Your mom will grow so worried she'll let you do anything once you come back. I looked at Marmalade. I really didn't want to part with him, so I decided to listen to Adam. I wrote a note for my mom saying that I wasn't going to live with her anymore. Then, I packed everything I might need, put the kitten in my backpack, and went outside. Adam was already waiting for me. I had to leave my phone behind so that Mom wouldn't find me again. My boyfriend said that he knew a place where we could hide and pointed at Mr. Miller's house. I hesitated again. Adam noticed it and smiled calmly. His hearing isn't great. He lives alone and is almost always at school. This is the perfect option. Okay, but how do we get inside? He took keys out of his pocket and shook them, pleased with himself. I got them from my dad. It turned out that his parents knew our teacher, and the old man had left them his spare keys so that they could water his flowers if he had to leave for a while. Mr. Miller was at work. Adam opened the door and gave me a tour like he owned the place. It turned out he had already spent the night there a couple of times. Wow, it seemed there were many things I didn't know about my boyfriend. We put our things in the basement. I left Marmalade's bed and food there as well. That's when the fun part began. While our teacher was at school, the house was at our disposal. We played hide and seek, ate snacks, and relaxed. I liked living without my mother's strict control and tedious lectures. By the evening, I usually cleaned the house so that Mr. Miller wouldn't suspect anything. And then, Adam, the kitten, and I fell asleep in the basement. I knew that Mom was worried and was looking for me. I even saw her a couple of times. She was asking the neighbors about me. She had probably even gone to the police. Mom looked very worried and had bags under her eyes. It seemed she wasn't getting enough sleep. I thought it was time to go back, but Adam convinced me to wait a bit longer whenever I brought it up. We ran away to teach our parents a lesson. Don't give up so quickly. You're right, I guess. I agreed to stay there a little longer, but lying around and doing nothing all day was getting boring. So I decided to study a bit. I knew I would have to go back to school sooner or later. I had just opened the textbook when Adam snatched it out of my hands and tore it up. Don't be such a bore! Let's prank Mr. Miller instead! I refused to take part in it, but he went to the bathroom and changed the contents of all the tubes, jars, and containers there anyway. Mr. Miller ended up brushing his teeth with shampoo and washing his hair with mouthwash. Holy crud. Adam got out of control. He ate our teacher's food, tore up his documents, and often made a mess as well. I tried to reason with him and make him act more respectfully, but he just snorted and sneered.
Have you forgotten how he treated us? He has it coming.
Soon, Adam lost all fear of being discovered. He left the basement even when Mr. Miller was at home. I had to keep cleaning up after him. And then one day, I heard our teacher tell someone on the phone that strange things were happening in his house. Oops, he was starting to suspect something. It was time to stop before things went too far. I decided to have a serious talk with Adam. Guess what he was doing when I found him? Mr. Miller was cooking dinner in the kitchen, and my boyfriend was sitting under the table and hiding food as soon as the old man turned away. Our poor teacher thought he was going crazy.
What's going on? I just put a sandwich here.
In the morning, when we were left alone, I went ballistic. You've crossed a line. He snapped and told me he was just having fun. Ugh, we had a fight. I saw him in a new light. I left the basement to wander the streets and think everything through and realized what I had to do. I decided to buy groceries, put them in Mr. Miller's refrigerator, and go home. After all, we had eaten a lot of his food. But then I ran into Adam in the supermarket. He was stocking up on chips and soda. I asked him who it was all for, and he smirked and said that he was going to throw a party at Mr. Miller's house. You're nuts! Don't you dare do that! I'll tell your parents where you've been hiding if you do. We argued for a long time, and he eventually agreed that it was time for us to go back to our parents.
I thought you understood me, but you're just as boring as everyone else. We're done.
Excuse you? I'm breaking up with you! We kept glaring at each other on the way back to our teacher's house. We put the groceries into the refrigerator and headed down to the basement to get our things. Marmalade, hop into my backpack. Just as we were about to leave the basement, we realized that the door had been locked from the outside. What was going on? Adam tried to break down the door but failed. And then we heard Mr. Miller's voice.
Gotcha! Sit there like Egyptian mummies in a tomb and think about your behavior, you hooligans. I will set you free in 3,000 years.
Oh no, had he lost it? My blood ran cold. I desperately wanted to go home to my mother. We started to bang on the door and demand that he let us out. And to our surprise, the door swung open. Adam's parents and my mom were standing next to Mr. Miller and looking at us.
Here, look at what your children have done.
It turned out that our teacher suspected something was wrong and installed surveillance cameras while Adam and I were in the supermarket. He got a notification on his phone that someone else was indeed in his house. So Mr. Miller locked us in the basement and called our parents.
I should have called the police, but I'm not as heartless as you think I am. I know how to play pranks too. I'm sure I scared you good.
And we fell for it. His words about the mummies nearly made me jump out of my skin in fright. I was burning red with embarrassment. Adam's parents hugged him tight.
Sweetie, how many times are you gonna scare us like that? We love you.
That's how I found out that he'd never had any problems at home. His parents doted on him. Adam was just a spoiled kid that sneaked into other people's house for fun.
Quit embarrassing me.
Adam's dad sternly said that he'd let him get away with too much and that he was now grounded.
It was all Corin's idea. I'm innocent.
But no one believed him. Of course, I also deserve punishment. I was not surprised when my mom started to scold me.
You are grounded for the rest of the year.
But then, she said that she had been too strict with me and let me keep the kitten.
Yay!
I started helping Mr. Miller around the house after school to make amends. Our parents sometimes go too far, but they also often have a point. Adam turned out to be bad company. I will choose my friends more carefully from now on. Luckily, everything ended well, and everyone learned a lesson. Have you ever had a friend that was a bad influence on you?